Thank you. It's a pleasure for me to be here today. It's my first time in Leicester. Thank you so much for having me. And as it was said, I'll be talking about listening to the baby's voice in infant mental health in practice. So we'll have a look at how we can listen to the baby's voice when working with parents. So I'll briefly cover this topic. So the importance of understanding babies and meeting parents' needs through the use of the neonatal behavioral assessment scale and the newborn behavioral observations. These are two tools that we teach practitioners all over the country. And so our goal at our center is to promote healthy parent-infant relationships. So for us, it's very important to teach practitioners to form a strong relationship with the parents so that they can then themselves have relationships with their baby. So we do this through looking at baby's behavior. So the focus of our work is giving the baby a voice. So when we are working with parents, instead of just looking at them and putting them in the first place, we actually look at the baby and share what we are doing with the parents, trying to involve them. But I'll talk about this a bit more in detail later. Our work is mainly from 0 to 3 months old, and we consider this a very critical period for families, of course, because lots of transitions are happening. So for the baby, he was obviously in the womb and is now in a very different environment, going to a rapid development on all levels. So it's a major shift and a very important moment for babies, so we can intervene in the stage. And for the parents, they've been dreaming about this baby for months, and suddenly they have a real baby that they can develop a relationship with, but sometimes they might struggle a bit because it might not be what they were expecting. And then for practitioners, it's actually an optimal moment to do something to promote that relationship. So it's not only about the practitioners helping parents, but it's also about the practitioners establishing a trusting relationship with the parents. So we find that's quite important. This is a very powerful picture of a newborn baby. So it's right after birth, in these first moments of life, and here we can see how he's already communicating. So he's ready to engage. He's ready to communicate with us, and is just expecting a connection. So this happens right after birth. It's not only when they're 3 months old or when parents start to see that they're actually trying to talk or something. It happens straight away, and this is an optimal moment, we think, for intervention. So that's why it's so important to focus on this moment. Our work, so we are called the Brazelton Center. I don't know if you have heard about us before, but it's based on Dr. Brazelton's work. He was a pediatrician, and in the early 70s, he was the first one, pioneer, talking about how babies are actually competent right after birth. So they have several abilities, such as tracking objects, tracking faces, turn around to listen to their mom's voice, and recognizing his mom's voice and other, as you know, and also no behavior is random. So actually all behaviors have meaning and they are organized, so we can help parents understand that. As we've seen in the picture, actually babies are social and ready to engage with us. So that's what we were just seeing. So they can transform their environment as they're looking for attention. He also said that babies are actually individuals, so all of them will be different, and we can try to find their unique set of dispositions and sensibilities. So I don't know if you've heard of this before. I'm sure some of you already did. So it's very, very important for parents to understand that their baby's behavior can be organized through 6 different states. So they can be in a deep sleep state, light sleep, drowsy, alert, active alert, and crying. part of our work is explaining this to parents. And we do have a lovely leaflet that if later you want to come in and have a look, I can show you. So we explain exactly how this happens, and then some tips for parents to deal with their baby and understand what they're saying through their behavior. And so, for instance, if the baby is in a drowsy state and we can identify that, we can show parents that actually maybe your baby is not sure of what to do, maybe he's ready to go back to sleep, or maybe he's getting ready to be alert and interact with you, but you need to give the baby time, respect what he's doing, have a look, and then react according to that. So for instance, then about crying, we obviously show parents how their baby can be consoled, and obviously some babies will need more support than others. And for instance, also if the baby is in a light sleep state, we can say, you know, at this stage, your baby can be more easily disturbed, and if they are in a deep sleep state, their brain is rapidly growing, and they probably will sleep, even if you're doing lots of noise around the house, they should be fine. So this is something that parents will find helpful. And we also say to parents how important it is to look at these skills and how babies can tell you so many things. So actually, they have this readiness to communicate with others, and they respond to all sorts of things. So they respond to touch, they can be soothed, they can self-soothe as well. So here in this picture you can see the baby is bringing his hands back to his mouth or his chest. It means that he's actually trying to contain his behavior. So that happens a lot, and you'll see that babies have these sorts of abilities, and so we can support them to find those abilities as well. Babies can also show likes and dislikes, meaning that, you know, they have these tiny behavioral cues that we can pay attention, and that might mean something. So for instance, if you're talking to a baby and he looks away, it means that in that specific moment he's not interested in that, or he just needs a break because he's too tiny and obviously his attention span is quite short. And obviously they show likes as well, so if they're really engaging into a conversation, they'll have this bright look and will be very attentive to what you're saying. When parents look for support right after birth, most of them will be having all of these questions. I'm sure you've seen them before. So they're asking, can my baby see? Does my baby recognize my voice? And actually, our work is about recognizing them as the experts instead of being us. They're looking out for us as, oh, can you please provide me some advice? And when we work with them, we'll actually show them what the baby can do, and through that, and also through them sharing their experiences, we'll respond to these questions without putting them in the spotlight. So it's a very positive approach. And these are the two tools we use at the Brazelton Center. So at the moment we've trained about 5,000 practitioners in the UK on these two tools. The first one is the neonatal behavioral assessment scale. So this was the one that was developed by Dr. Brazelton Center and has about 53 items, and it's a very detailed assessment of newborn behavior. And it can be used, for instance, for research because it has a scoring system with reliability. And then we have the newborn behavioral observations. This was developed to be shorter and more flexible in a way. So health visitors, for instance, prefer to use this one because it has 18 items and it can be used with the parents in a very flexible way, and it has a scoring system, but the main goal is to share with parents what their baby is doing and giving meaning to what the baby is showing. So I'll talk a bit more about the newborn behavioral observations because unfortunately we don't have time to go through everything, but I'm pretty happy to discuss after if you want to. So the NBO is underpinned by 30 years of research and that's because it's based in the NBAS. And then it focuses on the relationship building and can be easily integrated into practice. So it's a structured neurobehavioral observation that enables clinicians to describe and interpret newborn behavior for parents. So as I said, it has 18 items. And so for instance, it has habituation to light and sound. So we can see how babies protect their sleep by doing some stimulation and showing parents that after a while the baby is habituated to stimulation and can go back to sleep. We also show muscle tone and activity levels. We do some reflexes. Parents love to see how their baby have the reflex, the crawling reflex. They find it really interesting. We also do some visual and auditory responsiveness analysis through the face and voice, and then through some objects like a red ball and a rattle. Then we also look at crying and consolability and self-regulations. When we do a visit or when we are at a clinical setting with the mum and the baby and the dad, hopefully, we probably won't go through all of the items because, for instance, the baby won't be asleep. But the main point is that you'll have the background, the theory, the approach on how to raise these issues with parents. So we can actively listen and actually ask them, how does your baby sleep? What do you find when he's sleeping? Is it easy for him to go back to sleep? So we can promote that discussion if on that specific day we can observe the baby doing that. I have a video here where we will see the ball and the rattle items. It's baby Lucas, he's 3 months old here, and Joanna, our trainer, did a visit, and the mum is somewhere in there. We actually cannot see her, but she's observing and sharing the observation as well. I don't know how this works, but I'll try. Okay. So Joanna is showing the baby the red ball, and you'll see that the baby is making a huge effort to keep focused.
Follow that quickly. And you found something to look at over there.
And as you see, the baby needs a break, so it has to stop for a while, and we respect that. And here you can see he's back on track. You remember I told you how they need to contain themselves and have their hands close to their chest? Just did that. Now, again, closing his eyes, taking a little break, and now he's ready to go back. This is a great amount of work for this baby, and he did very, very well. And now Joanna will show him the rattle, so we're trying to see if we will locate the sound.
So, you know, all babies will show you when they need a bit of a break, looking away or just looking somewhere else. Oh my goodness, are you smiling? Are you smiling?
So now we have a 3-week-old cheering up our day, which is lovely. So basically what you just saw is that Lucas was actually more interested in faces and voices, which is quite common, than on tracking the rattle. It doesn't mean that he won't be able to do that. It might be that in another moment he will do it, but it's just for you to understand this is not an assessment. We'll do some things with the baby, and then we will just respect what he wants to do at that specific time and discuss with the parents. Oh, look, actually he was just more interested in my face. Have you been talking to him much? Because it seems to like voices. So that's the sort of positive approach we use in our work. These tools can be used with any baby or family. So even if the baby is preterm, as long as he's medically stable, we can use these tools. And then if the moms have some sorts of issues, or even the fathers, this is very helpful for them as well. We aim to have the NBO being used universally because all families can have them, and you know, it's a very powerful moment for parents when they're just learning about their baby. If we can show them what they're doing and get to know them better, this is very powerful, but obviously can be done with anyone. For instance, in Tameside, they're using the NBO universally with all families, which is a great achievement, I think. so it can be used in a preventative way. So basically, as I was explaining before, we observe the baby, what he's doing, and share that information with the parents. We actively listen to them, and then we involve them in the session. Thank you. There's a lot of research with the NBO. These are some findings we have here in the UK. So we always have this comment on how actually this has shifted my practice, and I find it very helpful, because when I'm working with parents, I'm no longer listening to what the parents are saying. I'm now also involving the baby and trying to understand what he's telling us. So it's a shift in practice for most practitioners. And we found that this is a 2-day course, and we found that they feel more confident on their knowledge and skills when working with babies and families. 84% of them in a follow-up study said that they're actually using it with both fathers and mothers. Might be that both are on parental leave at that specific moment, but it's very important for fathers to feel involved as well, and they especially like when the baby is able to track the red ball, because they were sometimes not expecting that, and they're like, oh, maybe I can play with my baby too. How did you do that? And obviously then the other social interactive items, such as the dad or the mom calls the baby and he turns to his voice, so that's very powerful for parents as well, to recognize that actually my baby already knows me, so that's very important. And again, for the practitioners, they find that these social interactive skills are more important when they're doing the NBO, and they prefer to focus on these items and also on consolability, so they can show parents what support their baby might need when he's crying. And so for the parents, they felt after an NBO session, they felt they actually knew their baby better, they felt more confident in reading their baby's signals and cues, and they felt trust in the practitioner who carried out the NBO. So this is so important for us when we are working with families, having this reward that actually parents trust us and feel that our relationship with them is also important and valued. And they also felt closer to their baby, because now they can make meaning and respect what they're saying. This is another research project. I have a poster downstairs if you want to see. But basically, it's a different way of using the NBO. So I've integrated an NBO demonstration at an antenatal session with young expectant parents. And we've seen the group increasing their knowledge about baby communication, about how to respond to a baby, on how to console a baby, and their parenting confidence has also increased, because they now find that actually there are a lot of cues and little things that newborn babies are already saying. So this is powerful in another way as well. In several other countries, because the Brazelton approach is being carried out in several countries, there are other studies going on, and they find similar results, but it's important because some of them are, at the moment have RCTs ongoing, so that will provide us with more robust evidence. But they've been finding that practitioners' perceived confidence and skills are improving, and the relationship with the parents and the baby as well. And there's a pilot study showing that actually it can reduce depressive and anxiety symptoms with the mums, which is quite important as well. At the same time, it seems like babies might have, in the longer term, improved attention and social skills, because we started doing this so early in their development. Our tools are recommended in several NHS documents, so health visitors have been using it, and we're trying to have more and more people trained to use it, but they've been also integrated into perinatal mental health pathways, and we have all sorts of professionals being trained in this. So we have midwives, we have psychologists, occupational therapists, physiotherapists. Really, everyone who works with babies and families have an interest in learning about this. So in summary, I would like to tell you that babies are extraordinary communicators, as we hopefully have seen. We can support parents in understanding their baby's language, what they're saying and how their behavior is so meaningful. And we can use the NDO and the NBAS to support parents. And the Brazelton approach, I think, is an excellent way to understand babies. So here you have my email address and our website as well. And I'll just like to leave you with a quote from Dr. Brazelton. A baby's behavior is his language, and you can trust that language. Thank you.